The dramatization you're about to see is based on an actual, investigated, and documented case history of psychic phenomena. It is the next step beyond. It began on an ordinary day when David Peters called the police to his estate, where the brutally murdered body of Susan Lambert lay in a deep roadside gully. The official record of the strange case of Randall Priest versus the people of Kalin County and its even stranger aftermath is, however, not quite complete. And it never will be. For there are some things the officials don't have the courage to believe or to put on the record. Facts that do not conform to the accepted rules of evidence and defy all human understanding. But for Randall Priest, it didn't begin until 2 hours later, when the police found him apparently deep in meditation on a lonely mountaintop in the Topa Range.
Randall Priest? Randall Priest? Yes? You're under arrest.
The charge is murder. The victim is Susan Lambert. The jury will listen to the evidence for and against Randall Priest. Was Randall Priest indeed in those mountains all that day? The verdict will raise a most provocative question. Could Randall Priest possibly be in two different places at the same time? Could anyone?
Your name?
David Peters.
You know the accused?
Yes.
Can you point him out to me?
At the defense table, the one on the left is Randall Priest.
Did you know Susan Lambert?
Yes.
Susan Lambert was extremely attractive and a very popular young woman. At the time of her death, she had everything to live for. What was your relationship to the deceased?
She was a friend of my wife, Dorothy, and mine. That morning when she came out to our place, it was...
The morning that she was later found in the ditch on the back of your property.
Yes. Dorothy was in town shopping. Sue was nervous and frightened, so I took her in the house and tried to calm her down.
I said I wanted to talk.
We can talk anytime.
My, aren't we impatient today?
It's been 2 whole weeks. I've been going crazy waiting for you to get back. Come on, Sue, don't play games with me.
Poor Davy. Okay. No more games.
Did she say why she was frightened?
She said that she decided not to marry Priest and was terrified of telling him.
Why?
She said because of what he might do to her.
Might do to her?
Yes, she said he had a terrible temper, uncontrollable sometimes. And that was one of the reasons why she decided against marrying him. Anyway, I told her that Dorothy would be back home about 2. Sue said she'd come back later and left.
Well, hope you enjoyed your goodbye kiss.
Oh, what?
It's more than Randy will get.
What do you mean, goodbye?
I'm going back to San Francisco. Tomorrow.
Come back why?
Because you lied to me. Dorothy controls everything. You don't have a dime of your own.
Well, yes, now. I need time to work it out, and then I'm going to wind up with everything.
Don't bother. Besides, I found someone in Frisco with his own money. And I mean money.
and you just walk out and leave us.
David, grow up. It was just fun.
You said you loved me.
Did I? I say a lot of things.
Nobody walks out on me. Nobody walks out on me.
What?
Nobody walks out on me.
Can you describe his state of mind?
Yes, he was very angry. And it appeared to me that he was drunk or something, because when he drove off, he had a hard time keeping on the road.
That was in the morning. The first time you saw him that day.
Yes.
Ross?
Mr. Peters, both the events that you described, your talk with Susan Lambert, and then the arrival and your conversation with Randall Priest. Now, you were the only person at the house at that time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there's no one that can substantiate your story. Unfortunately, not Susan Lambert. And as for Randall Priest, it's your word against his. Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Mrs. Peters, Susan Lambert also told you that she decided not to marry Priest, did she not?
Well, when I spoke to her...
Kindly speak up, will you?
When I spoke to her on the phone the night before it happened, she said she was having second thoughts about it.
Thank you, Mrs. Peters. Mr. Brydman?
Mrs. Peters. Did Susan Lambert ever tell you that she was afraid of Randall Priest?
No, only about how
About him, about hurting his feelings. And then you went and you told this to your husband.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Peters.
She didn't say that it was only Priest's feelings she was worried about, did she?
No, sir. Just what I said about how he'd take it.
Thank you, Mrs. Peters. Mr. Priest, you told the court that your occupation is that of radio disc jockey?
Yes, I spin records. Country and Western mostly, but I also take calls, talk to the people, have guests.
In the record business, marijuana and other drugs are part of that scene, as you people put it, aren't they?
Yes, a lot of entertainers are on stuff.
But not you, of course.
Oh, I've tried marijuana a couple of times, but never anything harder.
Just marijuana. And you drink?
Wine, yeah, mostly with my meals. Never enough to get stoned. I believe in keeping my head straight.
By stoned, you mean inebriated.
Right.
But you do admit that you were aware that your fiancée was about to break up your engagement.
That she was thinking of putting off the wedding, yes, we talked about it. But I didn't go to the Peters farm that day, or any other day. I have never set foot on that place.
And you want us to believe that on November 10th, you spent the entire day in complete seclusion, far from anyone, in the Topa Topa Mountains, meditating?
It's the truth. Look, if Sue had doubts about us together, I figured I ought to reconsider too, so... Now look, no matter what she decided, I'm not a violent man. I wouldn't kill anybody. Certainly not Sue.
It was late in the day. I was out on the back section of our property when I heard this terrible scream. I looked around, but I couldn't find where it was coming from. After a few moments, I saw a priest climbing out of the ditch.
And what did you do?
I went down to the ditch.
What did you find?
Sue,
Can you describe her, please?
she was dead.
we, the jury, find the defendant, Randall Priest, guilty.
We've finally been able to file for an appeal. And in my opinion, I think we can at least gain a hearing. Now, ordinarily, the evidence against you is purely circumstantial. But I think we stand a good chance.
Ordinarily?
I requested a behavior report on you for the first 3 months here.
And?
I gotta be honest with you, Randy, I didn't like it.
Why?
You come off strange.
Well, strange.
It's this practice of meditation.
Bill, you've never been in prison.
No.
It's unbearable. The confinement, the deadly routine. For someone like me, and knowing that I'm innocent, thinking of all those years and years ahead of me here. If I didn't have my faith in the power of the mind, I couldn't handle it, Bill. But there are ways. There are things. Now, I won't ask you to understand. For most people, it's just unacceptable. But I know I have knowledge, a way that will set me free.
Can you live with it, David? I don't think you can. Priest, he broke into the house.
What? How could that possibly...
Doors are locked. From the inside.
David.
He spoke to me.
Why don't you call Tanner?
He's still in San Quentin. He's in maximum security, and they can account for his every move, 24 hours a day. Now, your husband must have dreamed it or imagined what he saw. Well, under the circumstances, it is understandable.
No, not David. I know him. He's still in San Quentin.
He wasn't last night. Mr. Peters, you called us at 3:20 this morning. By 3:40, we had established that Priest was in his cell in San Quentin. Now, that's almost 500 miles away.
I saw him last night. It was he, Priest, no one else.
I don't doubt that he looked like Priest.
David said Priest spoke to him.
If you see anything unusual, Don't wait on it. Call us, please.
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna kill him.
I have to go to the market. Your lunch is on the table.
Are you frightened, David? Come over here. No, I'm over here.
David, if only you'd talk about it.
So you could tell me again how you'd like to believe me, only it's impossible and I'm crazy.
You're the most down-to-earth man I'd ever known. If you say so, I do believe someone is doing this to you. Someone who looks enough like Randall Priest in the dark or in the dim light of the basement stairs.
Don't you hear how ridiculous you sound when you say it? Oh, does Randall Priest have a look-alike? And does this look-alike, what does he want to do with me? A look-alike with Priest's voice. Besides, unless I'm going crazy, and maybe I am, I shot at him point blank. I couldn't have missed him. Only I did because he wasn't there. But he was.
Why won't you call Tanner and tell him?
So he can laugh at me too?
I'm not laughing at you. Where are you going?
Out.
I mean you no harm, Mrs. Peters. You told the truth. Ask David what really happened that day out at the pond. Ask him before he hurts himself. Me too. I'm over here, David.
David!
Leave Dorothy for you.
David! David, honey!
It's you. Your fault. You and your damn money. I killed her. I loved her. I killed her. It's your fault. Yep.
According to the coroner's report, David Peters died of asphyxiation caused by the pressure of powerful hands to his throat, and the bruises at the pressure points fitted the span of the dead man's hands precisely. But, of course, no one can choke himself to death. And hardly anyone really believes that David Peters saw Randall Priest at his house that day or anywhere else. Except, of course, his wife, Dorothy, and the experts on psychic phenomena. They call this kind of occurrence an out-of-body experience. And, of course, Randall Priest believes. He's a free man today only because he succeeded in taking that most remarkable next step beyond.